One of the brands that has captured my attention the most in the past few years is Oris. Oris is a brand that I think captures a lot of our attention once we sort of make that leap from people that like watches to people that love watches. It seems to be a brand that sort of is more in the sort of watch enthusiast market, even though they're a heritage brand. And today I've had the opportunity to get hands-on with the Divers 65. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. And today I am talking about a Oris Divers 65. Unfortunately, this is not my watch. This is a watch that I have borrowed. I haven't got the opportunity to own this one as yet, but it has been really good to get some hands-on experience with it. And I want to thank my friend Sam for lending me this watch, and he's lent me a few before, so I really do appreciate that. The Divers 65 is a watch that has interested me for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's an Oris, and I just really like the Oris brand. I like them because the quality seems outstanding, the designs are really good, and the price, albeit not super affordable, it's not sort of completely outside of the sort of realms of achievability for me. The Divers 65, like a lot of the other watches within the Oris brand, also comes in a lot of different variations as well. So there tends to be a watch from Oris within a brand or within a sort of a style of watch from them that actually will suit most people out there. For me, this one is probably not the one I would pick, but it is certainly close to the one that I would pick. So it's been so nice to get some hands-on with it, to get some on-wrist experience, and to be able to put some thoughts together to be able to produce this video. As always, whenever I do borrow a watch, I'm not spending a huge amount of time with it, so I don't say that this is a full in-depth review. This is just a bit of time with a watch, hands-on experience with it, with me paying some specific attention to it so I can point out some details to you. So for now, let's flip the camera around and let's check out this Oris 65. Now, there are a whole heap of different options when it comes to the Oris 65. There are different dial colours, different case materials, different strap combinations. It comes with a bracelet or a leather strap. But the one we've got today is the black dial with the two-tone sort of bezel and the gilt markers. Something I really do like about Oris is the presentation of the box as well as the paperwork. I love how it comes in this three-fold sort of paperwork, which gives you information about your servicing, your warranties and your manuals, and it comes with your bits and pieces. Now, I think there's three main reasons why I think the Oris 65 is so popular. Firstly is because of the brand. Oris is a really great brand. I really like the brand. Great quality, not too expensive. Yes, not cheap by any means, but certainly not stupidly expensive. But for what you are paying, you're getting a really amazing quality watch. Secondly is obviously the looks, because it is a very vintage inspired diver. Vintage inspired watches are very popular and have been for quite a few years. And Oris 65, I think, is a really good variation of this, and it is something that they sort of keep in their lineup. But third is because of the sizes, because this watch here has some great dimensions. The case itself is 39.5 millimeters, but the bezel is slightly bigger, making it 40, so it feels like a 40. It is 13 millimeters wide. It has a lug-to-lug of 48 millimeters. 20 millimeters lug width with a dramatic taper of that bracelet down to 14 millimeters and a lovely, nice, easy weight on wrist of 120 grams. We have a really nice looking watch, however. When you look at the dial, you'll see that black dial. It has that real deep, inky black color to it, which I think looks absolutely fantastic. And although gilt is not my favorite, I think it does look very good when it contrasts with black like this. You'll see those applied markers are all polished gilt, matching in with those polished gilt hands. Circles, as you can see, with some breaking up at the 3, the 9, and the little cut-off one at the 6, being a sort of a rectangular, and then the sort of triangular sort of 5-sided thing at the 12 o'clock there. It's nice to have the date window at the 6 o'clock, and it is also nice to have it color matched, and it fits in so nicely into the dial and doesn't really disrupt the whole look of this watch. I love how long the hands are. Check out the minute hand there. It sticks right over to that printed minute track. There is some printing on this one, obviously, because you've got Oris automatic, water resistant to 100 meters down there, and that minute track printed on and Swiss made. Everything else is then covered up by this really nice double-toned sapphire crystal, And it is a lovely piece of sapphire crystal. And it's really interesting because it is double domed, because as you turn it, you don't see any distortion. But as you turn it all the way up, you'll see the shape and contour of it gives some vintage vibes, but with the sort of modern day double domed sort of material there. And it is really nice. And even when you touch it, it's very tactile, has a really nice feel to it. Gives this watch a lovely look. I think they've done very well with the theme of this watch in general. All the parts of it come together to give you this sort of vintage style watch, which sits and looks really good when you do have it on wrist. Now, they call this a diver's watch, but it is 100 meters of water resistance, so I'm not quite sure what they're trying to say there. Maybe that is a vintage diver's watch, but it does come with a whole heap of lume, which looks really nice when you turn the lights off. And the bezel of this watch is really cool. It looks like an aluminium bezel, but it is quite a gloss sort of black to it. But what I like is that it is sloping down away from that crystal. I really do appreciate when bezels do that. They slope down. It is quite thin. And as you can see, this is a two-tone. It's sort of like a bronze color, which I think looks quite different and quite interesting. And the bezel action on this one is 120 click unidirectional, and it feels absolutely fantastic. No back play, no movement, and it just feels lovely, and you're not going to knock that, which is nice. And it just has a really nice sound to it as well. The case itself is a mixture of brushing on the tops of those lugs. It is vertical brushing, which is nice because it integrates really well with that sort of solid end link there. And then we've got polishing on the sides. You can see it's quite a flat watch, but there is a tiny bit of down curve. And because of the dimensions and probably how thin this watch is, or how thin it appears, it does actually then end up sitting on the wrist really nicely. On the other side, you can see it is an unguarded crown, has the Oris logo there, which I think is really cool. It is obviously screw down. Inside here, we have a Salida SW200, which of course then has hand winding. And of course, it also has hacking. But I'm always really interested to see how these movements are performing, especially since this one is a few years old. It'll be interesting to see how this Swiss movement is performing. So let's stick it on the time grapher. So this movement is running a little bit slow at minus 20 seconds a day, but every other sort of number there is really good. As you can see, it is a high beat, 28,800 vibrations per hour, almost no beat error, which is fantastic, and a nice healthy amplitude. That is actually not too bad. Yes, I think some people may think that is a little bit too much, but we have to remember this watch is a few years old, and I'm not quite sure what sort of life that this one has led. Now, I think this bracelet may be a little bit divisive with people, because some people are going to absolutely love the rivet style bracelet, and I am definitely one of those people. I think it looks fantastic, but I know a lot of people out there don't like it. What I can say is the quality is absolutely fantastic, all brushed on the side, lots of articulation, which is very nice. Tapers down dramatically, as I said, from 20 down to just over 14, which makes the clasp rather small, which is actually quite a nice on-wrist experience then. Plenty of micro adjust there, double pusher, milled internal as we would expect, and looking past the clasp, you can see the Oris shield there with some technical data about it, talking about the 100 meters of water resistance and the fact that it is a Swiss-made watch. So this one's not sized to my wrist, so it is a little bit loose, so let me hold it for you like that. But what I can say is that it sits down really nice on wrist, even though it is a rather flat case. The thickness of it seems to sit into the wrist really nicely. The comfort of the bracelet is definitely there. I can certainly understand why so many people find this watch so appealing. It has a really good look to it and a really nice on-wrist experience. I would love to be able to size this one, but because it is borrowed, I want to be a little bit careful with it. I'm careful not to sort of change people's watches that I don't own myself, because if I damaged it, I'd be rather upset with myself, and I'm assuming my friend Sam, who I've borrowed this off, might be a little bit upset with me too. But what do I like about this watch? What don't I like about it? And what would I change? There's a lot to like about this watch. I like the looks, I like the vintage aesthetics, and I like how that theme is all over the watch, from the bracelet style, the small tapering clasp down there, the bezel look, the dial, the sort of case, all very good. And just as I would expect from Oris, it is really, really well made. The only things that I actually dislike about this watch, or that I would actually change, are probably more my own personal sort of thoughts about sort of styles of watches or colors of watches. I'm not a big fan of gilt, and I'm not really a big fan of the two-tone, even though it is fairly subtle there. But that's perfectly okay, because this Divers 65 has so many options. If I chose to buy one of these for myself, there are plenty to choose from. And if you were going to buy one of these watches, well, brand new on the Oris website, they are 3,800 Australian dollars. And at that price, I think that might be a little bit expensive, or at least it feels like it might be sort of pushing the limits of this watch for me, because that sort of money, well, maybe there's some other things out there that I would choose. However, with Oris, one of my favourite things about Oris is the used market, because these watches are regularly available between 1,500 and 2,000 Australian dollars. And at those sort of prices, I think we're thinking about something special. I think we're getting an incredible watch from a very good company that is made really well and is a really cool looking watch with its own unique style, because this one obviously is not homaging a watch. So I think Oris as a brand in general is a really worthwhile watch to consider on the used market. And a couple of the Orises that I own personally, I bought used. And I'm actually in the market for another Oris, and that one I'll be buying used as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for Sam for lending me this watch. And maybe guys, check out these videos next.